let's go into side view here, turn on X-ray, and I'm going to, instead of scaling this into place, let's just grab these vertices and kind of just move them where we need them. Okay, so this is fairly curved, so let's add some edge loops. I think that will be enough to start, and we'll just kind of try to recreate this. Now, because this is curved back into a distance, imagine that this edge is kind of approximating a point in space that's kind of above this curve, because when we smooth it, it will automatically add that surface. So we're not going to totally try to replicate the shape just yet. We have to anticipate how our modifier is going to smooth our object. So contours can be a little bit tricky to guess, or sort of to know how they're going to work. So we're going to just put an edge kind of right in the middle of that curvature there, even though it's actually the frontmost part of this cushion is right here. We're going to put this right around here. Okay, so that's a good start. And let's make sure that our scale is correct here. So let's just scale that down. Okay. We can put in the other object now, the other cushion. Maybe just duplicate this. So Shift D to duplicate this object. We can press R to rotate that, G to move it, and then we can go in and put these, whoops. So remember X-ray. Okay, so let's see how close this is to the original. I suspect this may need to be a little bit wider. Yeah, this doesn't look quite as tall as it looks here. So what we can do is grab everything, deselect the cushions. When you have everything selected like this, if you press tab, it will actually edit everything at once. I don't actually know why this one is getting edited, because I didn't select it. So let's tab. There we go. So if I grab all of these at once, because they are all selected when I went into edit mode, I can manipulate them all at the same time. So let's just move those a little bit apart. I think, it doesn't need to be much, because it's doubling the distance in the mirror. So I think, yeah, that's going to be a little bit better. Let's scale these together. Yeah, those proportions are looking much better. Okay, and if we had a front view of this object, a photograph from the front, obviously this would be much easier, but we're trying to do this from a 3/4 view, so it's a little bit harder. If we add a subdivision surface to this, you can see the problem immediately, where we're going to need to add some supporting edges. So let's go ahead and add those. I'm going to add one in the back, and in the front I'm actually not going to add a supporting edge loop around. And that's because if we look here, we can see that it's actually fairly curved. So we don't need a supporting edge, but the back is pretty sharp. So let's do the same thing here. And it helps to do them both at the same time so you can understand the process. You don't have to sort of figure out how you did the other one again. Okay, and let's actually add our subdiv surface so we can see what's happening. Okay. I'm going to pop this up in resolution, and if we right click and do shade smooth, make this 3, we can see we're getting pretty close. You could actually stop here and have a fairly good model. You know, I think I want to try to sculpt this a little bit. So we're going to add just to our base mesh 2 edge loops in the middle, and that will be enough to allow me to go in and just kind of move faces around slightly just to get some of this variation in the surface. Okay, let's jump into edge select. So these handles here that are in between the 2 axes, red sort of flat handle, is going to be helpful in 3D view to not sort of move it left or right in space, but sort of just constrained to the Y axis. These are actually supposed to be more curved here, so let's grab these vertices. Scale those in. So that's a little bit better. And so these we actually, let's go to the side view. Let's turn on X-ray. So we know that we want this to be a little bit more curved. Okay. So I think this needs to be a little bit thicker. There we go. Looks pretty good. So one of the things you can do if you really want to exaggerate the pinching that can happen where this is sort of sewed together, so you can sort of pull these vertices up slightly like that at the corners, and that will create this tighter pinch. It's not the best in terms of shape of polygons, but should be okay for this model. Okay, and maybe we'll pull these back just a little bit to exaggerate that flatness. Okay, let's do the same thing for here. Okay, so this is pretty round, so we're going to actually scale these together. SX. And these will just move them down a little bit. Okay, so now we're really starting to get that shape. So we're an old, worn out leather cushion. Okay. And so we can just pull these corners down. Like that. Okay. see this corner is kind of hanging down. And it looks like this is a little bit fluffier in the middle, so we'll pull these up. And maybe just pull these down slightly. Okay, let's turn off X-ray, and so that's pretty good. So we're starting to get a really good shape here. We can grab these and pull it back, create a little bit of a curvature there. Okay, so that's, we could probably stop here for the cushions. That looks pretty good. Again, if we disable this, this is essentially your base mesh, which is, low poly. And then when you add your subdivision surface, it automatically adds this additional curvature. And so that enables you to go back and make changes later without having to really do a lot of painstaking work with vertices.